Thank you for joining me for episode 3, where I cover the questions that you had last week. In this video, we're going to cover margins, digital art, and also why Etsy's no longer showing that listing number. If you're new to this channel, my name is George McConnell, and I made over $1 million on Etsy. I want to thank everybody that left questions, and please continue leaving them below. I know I do answer a lot of them, but I do like making these videos for people that don't have the opportunity to ask questions, or people that just haven't, weren't able to see what I responded. So thank you, and just please continue that. Now let's move on and let's go right into margins. I talked about margins a lot in my last video and the video before that, because this is very important. This is something that a lot of people do not take into consideration when selling online. You need to understand your gross margin and your net margin. You need to know how much money you're bringing in. And there's a lot of things in the back end that people do not understand. So when you see the sales coming in, you have to consider, okay, well, how much is the material? How much is shipping? How much are ads? And it is very important, for me at least, that I continuously have 85 to 90% gross, so that it gives me the opportunity to have at least 40% net. And I'm going to show you exactly what I brought in on January and how much my expenses were, so you can get a better understanding on how much is spent on the back end. So I'm pulling this up really quick just to show everybody how much I spend and why I aim for that 40%. So in January 2023, I brought in $66,923.02. Don't forget about 2 cents. Now, something that you have to note is this is how it looks on your 1099, because Etsy does not add in those refunds that you did. So you have to manually calculate that. My actual amount that I made was $64,244.51. The refunds of $2,678.51 taken out of that, that's why the 1099 showed $66,923. So keep this in mind when you're doing your taxes, that the refunds on your 1099 are different. That's why your sales portal looks different than your 1099. Now, going through this, I have this broken down for each and every single month. I also have another Excel that breaks down exactly how much my expenses are outside of this. So if, warehouses, items that I have to purchase, paper, packaging, all that stuff, I have that all in another Excel. This makes things easier for your tax season at the end of the year. Now, breaking this down, excuse me, I have deductions, I have auto renews, I have Etsy ads, shipping labels, subscription, transactions. So you can see my listing fees were $4,407. Those 20-cent things add up quick. Shipping labels, the biggest expense I have is $15,066.93. Transaction fees, $3,355. And total is $31,037, and that's because of my marketing. But you can take that out if you want. Either way, that's how much I spent. This is how much I made. That's how much I spent. All right. Now, when you go through this, your marketing here is 8% of my revenue. So I made 67%, which is 33% of margin. Now, the reason that I always aim for that 40 is because of things like this, that 8% marketing. I would not have the opportunity to have ads at 8% if my margins were at, say, 20, because then I'm down to making 12%. So it's really important that you want to be able to have as much margin as possible, and that's why I aim for that 40%, so that I could try to add as much ads. Now, in January, that's a huge sales for me. So is November and December. Typically, I try to stay around 4 or 5%, but normally during those types of months, I go for 8 to 10%, and then I dumb it down during the summer when everybody's away. So you need to remember that this is important. In addition to that, because this store is a physical store, I have products that I have to buy. So this is extremely important, because if I don't have the 40% and say I had the 20%, then 8% going into, ads, then it only leaves me 12% to buy all my products. Buy all the products, now I'm down to how much percent, and then how much do I have to pay myself? And then you're left with no money. So I hope that that was helpful, seeing how much I spend on a monthly basis. Now, it does change month to month. Some months are higher, some months are lower. I do try to keep my ads around 5%. That month was 8%. I think the most I've ever spent on ads in one day was about $793, if I believe that's correct. Um, Pretty crazy, but I did have $6,000 in just that one day. The big thing is that you need to know this stuff, right? This is the most important thing, and this is things that a lot of people do not understand. And it's not your fault, because you're not taught that. You're not taught that your margins are the most important thing when creating a business, because your margins, determine if your business is going to continue growing or if it's just going to end up stagnant and eventually die off. If you don't have your margins high enough, you're not going to be able to build it. In addition to that, I remember reading once that if your business isn't growing at 9% each year, then you're already behind. And that's because the economy grows at 9% in revenue and how much you need to spend and all that, all your expenses. So you need to take that into consideration, that your business needs to grow. You can't just stay at one, level spot forever. You need to make sure it grows. And that all starts with knowing your margins and making sure that they are large enough that you can survive and profit from it. Moving on to question 2, it was about digital art. And a lot of people were asking, if that's something that you can go into. Um, right now, I feel like that's something that's going to turn out like shirts. And that's because I'm seeing so many videos about how to do digital art with AI, or how to push this with AI. AI is literally taking over Etsy, and it's probably because of most of these videos that are being released and pushing it. Digital art is being clouded, and it's very difficult right now to even get started. I don't want to tell you, yeah, you can do it, but there are gaps in there that you can still profit from. For how long? I don't know. I don't want you to sink all your time and effort into something that's eventually going to be saturated and you're at a loss. But I also don't want to say, hey, stay away from it. That is something that you have to decide on doing. But understand that it is going to be a struggle, just as t-shirts are right now, just because of the amount of items being released each and every single day. I also just want to note that AI is not copyrighted. So when you create an image using AI, as suggested by all these videos, that image isn't copyrighted. If somebody wants to go in there and take that image for themselves and use it, you have no say over that. They are trying to pass certain laws depending on how much information you put into that AI system, like Gemini or ChatGPT, and what comes back out. Could it be copyrighted? They're still determining that. But as of right now, there is no copyright laws. So you post it, somebody takes it, that's just how it is. So keep that in mind with this digital art using AI. The third question was about tags, and if you could just take them from your competition and use them. There's nothing saying that you can't. However, if you're going to make a similar item and just steal their tags, they're already an established company. So you have to keep that in mind, that if you have a similar shirt that's pretty much, almost identical to theirs, and you just use their tags, you're going to come up at the same time. They're going to win each and every single time. That company is established. That company is making money. So when you see a company making, $20,000, $30,000 a month on that one T-shirt, they are sinking so much money into ad spend that you are not going to win. You should only use competition for ideas. Blatantly copying them or making something that's so similar, thinking that it's going to make money, isn't going to make you money. I know so many of these videos out here are saying, oh, look at this one shirt and let's make a similar design and you're going to make all this money. Doesn't work like that. That company will destroy you each and every single time. Use it for inspiration. You see the shirt that they have and think of different ideas. Put together, play on words. And then if you want to use some of their tags, go ahead. But make sure that you filter out and see what tags will apply and what tags won't. Question number 4 is, should you offer free shipping? And that really comes down to you and your margins. If you skipped off on number 1, go back to question 1 so you understand margins. But that is very important because you need to be able to allow for that expense. So if your margins are too low to allow for free shipping, do not offer free shipping. Personally, I charge for shipping. I charge $3.99, and if somebody purchases over $35, then it's free. Now, when they spend over $35, sometimes I do have to eat a little bit of that money, but at least I know that that order is $35 or more. And in most cases, they go up to $50, $60, $70 for that order. And that is making me money. Those people will also come back, which is great for me. Now, this is my particular business. So, things that are like one off and they buy just one item or two items, I'm going to charge them shipping. And that's to be able to make sure that I'm making some sort of money. As you see in that first question, I spent $15,000 in labels in January. And that is insane. That is my biggest expense. So you have to make sure that your margins allow for you to spend that sort of money. And with POD, you have to buy this stuff in advance. So if you're selling, anything that you're using print on demand for, you have to make sure that you put the money up front, then to get the money back. And if those companies are charging you $6, $7, $8 to ship an item, and you're charging nothing, you just took $8 right off the top of your, pay. So keep that in mind. Margins are the most important thing, and if you should charge free shipping, or if you want to, it's based on how much you're bringing in first. Question number 5 is, where did the listing number go? If you've been following me for a while, you know that in some of my videos, I showed exactly how many listings were for, particular keyword searches. And for example, right here in shirts, you had 14 million shirts pop up with that keyword. Now it shows 1,000. And, they did this a while back on the website. They stopped showing the exact amount, and that was because they don't want people to be overwhelmed. They don't want to be like, oh my God, there's 14 million listings. What do I do? They also don't want people that are starting a shop being overwhelmed. And I knew eventually, like I said in those older videos, that they were going to take this off and they were going to make it say it just 1,000. I was hoping that it was going to take a little bit of time, but I guess, they decided to just go with it. And now we have no idea, right? At least we still have, programs like Everbee. I use Everbee a lot, and Everbee does show you an estimate of how many listings have that. And for the most part, from what I've seen and what I've played with, they are the most accurate. So, using them, at least you'll get an understanding and an idea of how many people are using certain keywords and how many listings there are. But for right now, Etsy removed it, and I don't think it's coming back on their app or their website. So thank you for tuning in for episode 3. Like I said in the beginning, continue leaving those questions below. I will answer them, but I would also like to make videos for other people that don't have the time to ask questions or just did not get to see that response. Thank you so much for tuning in, and take care.